Happy 420.
I'm Kai.
And I'm Queen Reefer.
And you're watching
Stone Cold Murder.
Just a PSA, if you have any information to help solve a crime, you can go to crimestoppers.com to report any information anonymously.
This podcast contains material that might not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alrighty, well, let's get into it then. I think we are all ready and prepared, but just in case we are not, and you guys haven't seen part 1 of the part 2 series that we are doing currently, click right here and catch up. And I'll give you like,
I gotta draw a new battery for this.
3 more seconds.
That's a long time.
You could feed the chicken while we wait. All right. Now, everybody should be caught up.
Yeah, and I'm happy now.
And we're happy, and the chicken is fed.
Why is that so, just satisfying, right?
Though.
Why?
I love it.
Why?
I don't know, because you're feeding a chicken, and chickens are...
And it's just like the anger of just pecking on your hand. It's just like,
yeah. That's good.
I like it.
It's good stuff.
I like it a lot.
If you guys have never fed someone's chicken, you should. We talked about the impact James's murder had on people and how we were able to advocate for heavier penalties on hate crimes when they're committed. So this is a good thing. Yeah. Because that was absolutely horrific, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did not like that. I actually, every case and week is so traumatic and so sad. But this one was the first one I think that we've talked about that actually gave me chills. Mm-hmm. And I low-key wanted to cry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I cried while I wrote it, to be honest.
My eyes were tearing up and it was like, I can't run out of here. Let me finish listening. But yeah, very sad.
Yeah, it's awful.
Hate it.
Yeah. So, get ready for this other part because it's just as disgusting and terrible. And I'm sorry to do it to you guys. But like I said, these things are important to talk about, and unfortunately they happen, and we don't want them to anymore. So I think it's important for you guys to feel sad about things like this, because it's not okay. Never okay. It's never been okay. We don't want it to ever be okay. So it's okay to be sad. We should be. On March 20th of 2007, Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crime Prevention Act was introduced as a federal bipartisan legislation in the U.S. Congress. On October 22nd of 2009, the Senate passed the act by a vote of 68 to 29, which is awesome. Everybody was like, yeah,
but why do people say no?
Because people are stupid.
I know.
Still. And like I said, there are a lot of people that think that just all murder is a hate crime when it is not.
It's not a hate crime, but you have to have hate in your heart to commit those crimes. But they're totally different.
They're totally different.
Yeah.
Right. Completely. There's reasons why we have penalties for these types of cases that are heavier, because they're absolutely god awful. All murder is, but this is beyond. Mm-hmm. This is beyond. President Barack Obama signed the measure into law in October 28th of 2009. Here's a picture of him with Matthew Shepard's mom, and I think this is James Byrd Jr.'s sister. So we talked about the tragic case of James Byrd Jr. in our last episode, and now it's time to talk about Matthew Shepard. Matthew Shepard was born in Casper, Wyoming. And as a child, he was friendly with all of his classmates, but was targeted and teased due to his small stature and quote-unquote lack of athleticism. So instead of going towards sports and all that kind of stuff, he developed interest in politics at a very early age. And in 1995, during a high school trip to Morocco, Matthew was actually abducted and beaten and raped on a trip, which is absolutely horrific. And this caused severe depression and anxiety in his life for the rest of his life. He was scared to do a lot of things and interact with a lot of people after this. After graduating high school in May of 1995, Matthew attended Catawba College in North Carolina and Casper College in Wyoming. So he went to 2 places. And that was before he ended up settling in Denver, Colorado. Matthew became a first-year political science major at the University of Wyoming in Laramie with a minor in languages, which is really cool. He was chosen as the student representative for the Wyoming Environmental Council. So he was doing stuff.
Yeah.
Matthew was described by his father as an optimistic and accepting young man who had a special gift in relating to almost everyone, which is so sweet. He was the type of person who was very approachable and always looked to new challenges. Matthew had a great passion for equality and always stood up for the acceptance of people's differences.
Stop. I got chills again.
I know. This case right here is actually what really got me, quote unquote, into true crime, because when I heard this case, I broke down. It killed me to hear this case. Both of these cases are very dear to me because I see both my brothers in them. I relate very heavily to both of these cases because of that. Like, it hurts.
Yeah,
It really does hurt. I know.
Especially like that part where it says always stood up for the acceptance of people's differences, and then that's what ultimately decided his fate. Makes me so sad.
That's horrible. Yeah. Yeah, from all accounts, Matthew seemed just like a really good human, really good friend, son, student, person, all of that,
Human.
Yeah. On the night of October 6th, 1998, Matthew was approached by Aaron McKinley and Russell Henderson at the Fireside Lounge in Laramie, Wyoming. All 3 men were in their early 20s. McKinley and Henderson offered to give Matthew Shepard a ride home, which, guys, please don't get into people's cars like strangers. Both of these cases can show us that, like, you really don't know people's intentions. And I'm not saying it's either of these people's fault for taking a ride from a stranger, but let's be careful here because like I said, you don't know someone's true intent, and you could end up in a very terrible situation.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. So as they drove down the road on this cold October night, they decided that they would do something horrific. Matthew Shepard was a gay man, and both Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson knew this. At their trial, it was found out that Henderson had identified Matthew as a robbery target and pretended to be gay to lure him to their truck. McKinney had attacked Matthew after he had put his hand on McKinney's knee, and ultimately the violence against Matthew was triggered by how McKinney felt about gays. They drove down to a remote rural area and parked. They got Matthew out of the truck and proceeded to rob, pistol whip, and torture Matthew, and eventually tied him to a split rail fence, leaving him there to die. Matthew was beaten to the point of being in a coma, and he had suffered an attack so bad his skull was fractured, and then they tied him to the fence after that for being gay.
By the way, that doesn't affect them whatsoever.
No, and they were the actual ones that lured him to the truck and then got mad. Like, what the fuck? Disgusting. It was like their intent the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't. They didn't have. I mean, I think they did have an intent to rob him, but like, they were always going to murder him. And this is the stuff of nightmares for me. This is like the most diabolical shit that we as humans could do. These two stories like turn my stomach and they make me angry. I don't understand. I can't fathom it. It breaks me each time I think about it. James and Matthew, like, it's disgusting. I can't. Reports described how Shepard was beaten so brutally that his face was completely covered in blood, except for where he had partially cleaned by his tears. So he just had like a couple streaks down his face that were actually like clean.
Don't say that. That's so sad.
It's
That made me like tear up a little.
yeah.
Ew,
Yeah, dude.
I don't like.
It's rough. McKinney and Henderson testified that they learned of Shepard's address and intended to steal from his home as well afterwards. After attacking Matthew and leaving him tied to the fence in near freezing temperatures, McKinney and Henderson casually returned back to town to the bar. McKinney proceeded to pick a fight with two men after this. 19-year-old Emiliano Morales and 18-year-old Jeremy Herrera. The fight resulted in head wounds for both Morales and McKinney. So like he was just going off that night. Police officer Flint Waters arrived at the scene of the fight. He actually arrested Henderson and then he searched McKinley's truck and found a blood-smeared gun along with Matthew Shepard's shoes and credit
Oh
card.
my god.
Yes. So Henderson and McKinley later tried to persuade their girlfriends into providing alibis for them to help them dispose of evidence afterwards, which is fucked up. And they were doing all of this while Matthew was still tied to the fence. He was eventually discovered by Aaron Kreifels, I think is how you say the name, who was a cyclist who initially mistook Matthew for a scarecrow. Like, just imagine that scene. Reggie.
You know what's crazy? Is like it's sad that he got into another fight, but it's kind of like a good thing because imagine if he didn't and the cops didn't show up at that time.
Yeah.
They could have had time to like
Mhm.
dispose of the evidence and
Right. Yeah, who knows if the crime scene had anything to tie them to it or not, you know? It's crazy. Reggie Floody, the first police officer to arrive at the scene, found Matthew alive but covered in blood. Matthew was transported to First Invasion Memorial Hospital in Laramie County before being moved to a more advanced trauma ward in Fort Collins, Colorado. He had suffered fractures to the back of his head and to the front of his right ear. He experienced severe brain stem damage, which affected his body's ability to regulate his heart rate, his body temperature, and other vital functions. There was also about a dozen small lacerations around his head, face, and neck. His injuries were deemed too severe for doctors to ultimately operate on him. Matthew Shepard was in a coma for 18 hours after the attack, and he never regained consciousness and remained on full life support. While he lay in intensive care for days following the attack, a candlelight vigil was held in countries around the world. But Matthew Shepard was pronounced dead 6 days later after his attack at 12:53 a.m. on October 12th of 1998. He was 21 years old. McKinney and Henderson were arrested and initially charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, and aggravated robbery. After Shepard's death, the charges were upgraded from attempted murder to first-degree murder, which meant that the two defendants were eligible for the death penalty. Their girlfriends, Kristen Price and Chastity Paisley, were charged with being accessories after the fact.
did it say on why? Because you said like they originally like tried to get them.
They didn't obviously help them dispose of the evidence, but they did try and provide an alibi. So, bitches.
Could you imagine like having a boyfriend and they tell you, I'd be like, oh,
Nope.
sucker, you're on your own.
No
Goodbye.
way,
Let
I'm
me
calling
drive
the
you to the police station myself, bitch.
Let's go for a little drive, buddy.
Mm-mm.
That's... Yeah, so... In December of 1998, Paisley did plead guilty for being an accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. So at least she had a little bit of a conscience, and she said, yeah, you know what?
My bad.
Guilty. On April 5th of 1999, Henderson avoided going to trial when he pleaded guilty to murder and kidnapping charges. So in order to avoid the death penalty, he agreed to testify against McKinley and was sentenced... Sorry. Yes. Thank you. In order to avoid the death penalty, he agreed to testify against McKinney and was sentenced by District Judge Jeffrey A. Donnell to 2 consecutive life terms. McKinney's trial took place in October and November of 1999. The prosecutor alleged that McKinney and Henderson pretended to be gay to gain Matthew's trust, which, yes. Price, which was McKinney's girlfriend, testified that Henderson and McKinney had pretended they were gay to get Shepard in the truck and rob him. McKinney's lawyer attempted to put forward a gay panic defense, arguing that McKinney was driven to temporary insanity by alleged sexual advances by Matthew. Even though he was the one that pretended to be gay to get him into the car. And if you guys don't know, the gay panic defense is a legal argument used in some jurisdictions, to attempt to reduce the severity of charges or sentences for crimes, particularly those involving violence, by blaming the victim's actual or perceived sexual orientation or gender identity for the defendant's violent reaction. So, I'm mad that this man is gay, so I murdered him. Or I'm mad that I found out this person is transgender, so I murdered them. In some cases, fine. Most cases are absolute fucking bullshit.
Yeah, like this?
This is fucking bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
Like, I could see it in a case.
They made sexual advances. They got him into his truck. Then they got mad when said person put hand on knee and then killed this person. Fuck you. Bullshit. So it essentially argues that the person's LGBTQAI plus status or the discovery of it causes the defendant to lose control and react violently. Bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
No, I agree.
I'll say it again with my whole fucking chest. It's bull fucking shit.
You don't have to agree with everything, but that doesn't give you the right because you don't agree with it to take someone's life. Like,
no, never has. Never
how
will.
is that even an argument?
I can't fathom it. So this defense, luckily, was ultimately rejected by the judge. They said, nah.
Good.
That's not what this was. And ultimately, McKinney received 2 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Both of them got 2 life sentences. After hearing these 2 cases, I wish I could tell you that these aren't more tragic stories with the same type of violence and hate, but these are not, this is not just the only 2 cases. People have used these types of excuses for far too long, and they deserve to get the punishment with more severity than other cases. They don't deserve sympathy or understanding, and you want to know why? Because they hate people for things they can't help, to the point where they ended someone's life over it. They don't deserve the sympathy. They don't deserve the understanding. They just don't. And with that being said, I just want to say one more thing. And I like that we get to say it this time because we know who the shitty people are.
Can we say it together?
We can. So with that being said, I want to say a huge fuck you to Sean Barry.
And a fuck you to Lawrence Brewer.
Fuck you to John King.
And fuck you, Aaron McKinney.
And fuck you, Russell Henderson. You are scum of the earth. And y'all deserve what you got. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to say it this time because we know who the scum is. That is the only fun part about this case, because the rest of it was absolutely horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts?
I hate it. I say that every time, but
Hate
I
it.
really do fucking hate it. Like,
Yeah.
I kid you not, every case is terrible, and I always feel a certain way, but this one just really like stabbed my heart. Like,
Oh,
I had chills the whole time, and I actually had to fight back tears
I
when we
know.
were talking about this. I was like, oh, this is terrible.
My keyboard has tears on it
Mhm.
currently.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is one that I really didn't think I was gonna ever cover because of that reason there, because it hurts me. It hurts me too much, but
It
it's
is also
important.
at the same time, yeah, it is important to like spread awareness and put a light on,
And
like a
just,
spotlight on
yeah.
things like this, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just mistaken on things, and it is good to remind them on like actual facts of the case. And you know, a lot of people tried to argue that McKinney was Matthew Shepard's lover, which is not the case at all.
Yeah, and
it was just actual bullshit.
But even if that's the case, it still doesn't like
Yeah.
change the fact.
Well, they tried to say that it wasn't a hate crime,
crime?
because of it, but as we saw, that the girlfriends testified, Henderson testified against that fact. You know, they all did, so that's not true. But yeah, it's weird things like that people hold on to and don't let go of, and want to like dim the light on these cases because they pull those things out and they're like, well, da 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 da, and it's like, nah. These are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
We'll shed a light on them and shed a little tear, because
Or a lot of tears.
a lot of tears. Yeah. But do you have any more thoughts or things you want to add to?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry to do it to you.
It's okay.
Yeah. Sorry to do it to you guys.
Mhm.
But I hope, if anything, we can move forward as a society, and we don't. I know it's not going to be completely 100% possible, but we try harder. We do better. So now we're going to go watch anime and dab and probably cry. So
Yeah.
we will see you guys for episode 9.
Woo! Almost there.
Almost at the end of the season.
Ooh, get
What do you
to
think
it.
these next cases are going to be? Because all of these have been really heavy.
Do you have them written out already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What do you think? Do you have any
Is it
thoughts?
another? Are they solved or unsolved? The last two.
The second, the 9th one is unsolved.
Okay.
The 10th one is not solved.
Oh.
Like the OJ case.
Oh. Word.
Not solved.
But it's like right, bam, in your face.
Oh, it's another one that you're like,
Bitch.
exactly, bitch. Come on, bitch.
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 Bitch. Matt, you're gonna have to put this in episode 10 when we recall to who we're talking about. Bitch.
You fucking bitch.
Or. Alright, well, with that being said, everyone, I hope you have a lovely evening. And until next time, stay high.
Stay safe.
Thank you for watching.
Mm.
Bye bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when the next episode drops. Follow Stone Cold Murder and the host's socials. The link will be in the description below. And until next time, stay high, stay safe, and thanks for watching.